If you are starting med school soon, or even if you are thinking about applying for medical school, I need you to hear this because I wish someone had told me. I remember being so terrified leading up to medical school. There were actually years in which I debated whether or not I should even apply. And then I did obviously apply. I got in. And I remember being terrified for the entire summer before. So if this is you, if you are terrified at the prospect, if you have no idea what to expect and you need someone with calming energy who's actually done the whole thing, then this video is for you. First, there's some emotional truths that I think we just need to level set here because these are things I never heard no one talk to me about, and I wish that I would have known. So one of the big things you have to know, and I'll talk about this later in the video, is that it's not just about learning medicine, it is about unlearning perfectionism. You are going to feel dumb a lot. That is a feeling that can and probably will crush you at times because you have been in an academic environment and have pushed yourself through school so much to succeed, to be perfect or close to perfect, that when you are wrong, aka not perfect, it can feel a little bit soul crushing. But here's the thing, that does not mean you do not belong. That is so important. Everyone is going to feel this way. Not everyone will talk about it. And I wish they did. I wish that was more normalized. But I promise you, everyone is feeling this way, at least to some extent, even if they aren't fully admitting it to themselves. I promise you, it'll feel like everyone else has it together and you're the only one who doesn't. That is not true. They don't always have it together. Everyone is figuring it out. Everyone feels dumb sometimes. Everyone feels like they don't belong sometimes. Another emotional truth is that it is okay to cry. This is an emotional experience. I think sometimes we tend to divorce the idea of emotions and school and career and thinking that in the career and school sphere, you should be pretty much emotionless, like all just hard work, discipline, dedication. It is an incredibly emotional experience to go through medical school and all of medical training for so many reasons. I'll talk more about that. But we have to normalize the emotions of it. We have to normalize that it is okay to cry. You probably will. And that is because although, yes, it is a highly intellectual endeavor, it is something that you also deeply care about. If you are going to medical school, really seriously considering it, or even to the point where you've gotten in and you're about to go, this is something that's in your heart, and most likely it's been in your heart for a really long time. It's something that matters to you, to your core. And so, of course, it is going to be an emotional experience. Okay, so now that we've gone through those baseline emotional truths that we just need to be aware of, everyone needs to be aware of before starting the medical training process, I want to go through 5 other basic, more concrete truths that I wish someone had told me. So number 1, grades matter, but not like you think. It is not exactly like it was in high school and undergrad where you had to perform well and it was all about performing well on tests in order to get to the next step and prove your worth. A really big part of performing well in medical school is actually how you operate in a workplace environment, how you actually operate in the clinic, on the wards. How you do on the test, yes, it matters, but it is not everything. A lot of people before they go into medical school have mastered the art of memorization, of memorizing a long body of work and then showing what they have memorized on a test. But being a good medical student and then eventually becoming a really good doctor is not about memorization. It is about synthesis of what you have memorized, what you have learned, critical thinking, creative approaches to problem solving, and communication and connecting with patients. Because look, AI exists. More and more people are turning towards ChatGPT to answer their medical problems. Things can be looked up on Google. What doctors are going to bring in the future is the art of relating to humans. You want to have a human taking care of you when you are really sick, when you are really scared. And that is going to be the piece that you as a human will bring. So it is not about just memorizing everything. What is going to make you an excellent doctor is about communicating. So yes, how you do on tests matters. I can't lie to you about that. You have to pass them to move through the next step. But that is not the most important thing in medical school. It is all of those other more human qualities that only you can bring to the table. Number two, you have to take care of your own body before it breaks. The environment of medical school and medical training, I would say residency even a little bit more, is such that if you are not aware of the amount of self-care you need to put into taking care of your body, taking care of yourself emotionally and mentally, you will get to a point at which everything breaks down. I do think, luckily, something in me actually recognized this pretty early on. And I was very intentional about making sure I was sleeping enough, making sure I was drinking water, eating a healthy diet, being active, at least somewhat. I mean, obviously, when you're working 80 hours a week on wards, it's not like you're going to the gym every day after work. But you do have to have some balance. And for everyone, that is different. I think a lot of people in medical school who I went to medical school with, my med school classmates, thought that I was pretty far on the spectrum in terms of how much I needed for socialization. I like to see my friends outside of medicine. But everyone is different. You have to meet your own needs for socialization and self-care, and you have to know what your limits are. Pushing forward, denying your own human needs is not a sign of strength. I know people who really broke down to take time away because they didn't prioritize these things early. You don't want to be that person. Recognize what your basic needs are and make sure that you're fulfilling those. Number three, I promised I would get back to this, and it is so worth talking about. This is one of the most important things that you have to be aware of before you go into medical school. You will feel dumb a lot. Like maybe every single day, you will feel like an idiot. Let's just put that out there and normalize it. There were so many times that I had imposter syndrome. I did not feel smart enough. But you know what? Almost everyone feels that way, and they're just not talking about it. Like I said before, one of the most important things that you need to do in preparation for medical school is to unlearn perfectionism. If you are someone who has gotten into medical school or thinking that you have a good chance of getting in, chances are you have put a high degree of your own self-worth on absolutely killing it academically. But in the real world, in the hospital, you are going to get a lot of things wrong. You are going to feel like, shit, I don't know what to do. You're going to feel like my attending or my senior resident or my intern is asking me a question that I feel like I should know the answer to, and I have no idea. And so what you absolutely need to do is reframe your relationship about being wrong. You have to have a completely different energy when it comes to being wrong. Yes, you need to learn from it. Yes, you need to recognize that you're wrong, obviously. But you cannot beat yourself up about being wrong every time you're wrong for hours, days, or weeks after. You will drive yourself crazy. You truly may drive yourself into a depression. I actually did. You really need to find a balanced relationship with being wrong. Yes, you need to recognize it. Yes, you need to use it to improve yourself, but you cannot let it ruin you. One thing that I did that really helped with this balance was I actually got a journal, a really cute one from the store, and every time I was wrong on the wards at work that day, I would just write about it, and I would write what I learned. And most of the time that was just medicine things, right? Like I should use this antibiotic for a central nervous system infection instead of this one because it has better penetration, for example. And so then it would make it feel like, okay, I'm reflecting on this, I'm learning from it, and I'm using it to be better. I'm not beating myself up. The journal was not an excuse to just write a bunch of bad things about myself. It was to write exactly what I had learned that day. And then I could look back on it and say like, okay, being wrong has served a purpose for me. Obviously, there's a lot of different ways that you can approach this, but you have to find what was for you to find balance and just absolutely reframe your relationship with being wrong. Number 4 is you have to find your people early and realize that not everyone in medical school is going to be your cup of tea. Not everyone approaches medical school and medical training the same way. Some people truly think, this is my life. I don't have time for friends anymore. You know, this is the most important thing. I don't even care about like prioritizing my self-care. I just need to be top of my class and kill it in med school, and that's the only thing that matters. For me, those were not my people. You have to find your people. I promise you, not everyone in medical school is like the person I just described. That person usually is what we call a gunner, and that is not how I ever wanted to be. And I think most of you listening to this don't want to be like that either. You have to find those people in medical school that feel like they have a similar vibe, that they prioritize what you prioritize, and then those people are going to be the ones that keep you sane. At the same time, you have to recognize pretty early on which people are not for you. And you have to recognize that, like, yeah, that's how they're approaching it. That's how they're doing medical school. That doesn't mean it's the right way. You really have to be true to yourself in this process and make sure that you are going through medical school and medical training on your own terms, not somebody else's. And you need a group of friends, of people who remind you very frequently that you are more than medicine. You are more than a medical student. You are more than a medical resident, or wherever you're at. And I think it's really good to have those people in medical school. I found a group of like 3 girls who I absolutely loved, and we were all just on the same page about that. But I also think it's really important to keep up with your friendships outside of medicine. I am so happy that I did that. And both groups of friends are so important for reminding you that, like, this is not your whole life. This is a huge part of your life, and it is a fulfillment of your purpose. But you are not just this one-dimensional thing. You are not just a medical student. And you need to surround yourself with people who remind you of that, because otherwise, if you don't, that is also a huge risk factor for going crazy and falling into an actual depression. And lastly, number 5, you need to protect your why. Unfortunately, as someone who is an attending now and has gone through all of medical school, all of medical training, I have seen those doctors who have totally lost touch with their why, who have become totally jaded, who just are kind of shells of who they used to be. And truly, it's sad, because when I started medical school, I felt like most people in my class had a genuine why. They were genuinely earnest in their dedication to this path. But I do see that people genuinely lose it if they aren't staying connected frequently to the why of why they wanted to be a doctor in the first place. And obviously for everyone, that's different. I had my why, you have yours. And all that is important is that you just have to stay connected to that. You have to remind yourself of that in the hard times. And even when things are going pretty well, I think it's a really good idea to journal about it, to reflect on it, to do meditations in which you're actively cultivating this why, this inspiration for yourself. Because no one goes into medical school thinking, I'm totally cool with just turning out like one of those jaded doctors one day. Because those doctors who get jaded and burnt out, they are not able to connect in a good way with their patients. Those are the doctors that patients come on social media complaining about, that patients feel actively hurt by, patients don't feel listened to, they feel brushed off. Usually those are doctors who just have not maintained that connection with why they're doing what they're doing. And that is not what you want to be, my friend. That's all I have for you today. I think those are 5 really important lessons that I wish someone would have told me before I started. Medicine will absolutely challenge you. I will not lie about that. And if you want me to talk more about those specific ways in which it is challenging and how to overcome those specific challenges, I am absolutely happy to do that. But let me tell you this, I think it was 1000% worth that challenge. You have to remember that you're not just learning how to treat illness. You're not just learning how to be an encyclopedia of knowledge. You are learning how to be present with human beings when they are their most human. And that is such a gift. I can't overemphasize enough how much that touches me to my core to be able to do that. So if you are on this track to learn this practice, congratulations. If you are terrified, if you are unsure, if you are not feeling confident, please know that is okay. That's where I was. It is totally normal. And not just normal, it means you care. Drop a comment down below with any questions. Let me know what you are scared about, what you are nervous about. I've been there. I've probably had the exact same fears and concerns and anxieties, and I'm happy to address them in future videos. And subscribe if you want more real talk from someone who has actually lived this. I love talking about my experience in medical training, how I got through it, how I cultivated confidence, how I overcame challenges that I found. So please subscribe if you want more, and I will see you in the next video.